Hello everyone. I wanted to make a video to show a little something I'm doing with Solidworks and Python. I'm using Python to automate the designs of my parts in Solidworks. And so I wanted to show you a little bit of a preview of how I do that, and then later I'm going to go into a more in-depth video on how I did it. So this is a sphere, this is a rectangular prism, and this is just a pyramid. So what I've done is I've created a Jupyter Notebook, and so in this Jupyter Notebook I've defined some variables that are needed to make a sphere and a prism and a pyramid. And so as I do that, I can go in here into the Jupyter Notebook and change the values of these. So that was 4, we'll make it 3 now. Let's do, well, we can do a length of 7, and we'll do a height of 3, and then we'll make the pyramid height 5, and we'll make this width match our length at 2. And so what this is doing is you'll see it's obviously resetting the variable definitions, but I'm capturing these definitions and placing them into a text file called pipeline.txt, and I'm writing these variables to this text file. And so what I like to do, instead of clicking through all these cells, is I go to kernel, and I'll just, no, I don't want kernel, I want cell. So I'll just run all. I'll click run all, and it runs them all right there. And so let me pull up SolidWorks here real quick. And so now that I've run that, it has been sent to the text file where those new values lie. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click rebuild here. Whenever I click this, you should see all of these rebuild here. Yeah, so they rebuilt to the definition that I gave in the Jupyter Notebook file, and so that's a little bit of a preview of what I've done here. In the next video, I'm going to go into more detail on how exactly I did this. So stick around if you're interested. Thanks. Hello everyone. So in the last video, I showed you that I was able to use Python to connect to SolidWorks and control the geometry of the 3D models within my SolidWorks application. So in this video, I want to try and go through start to finish how I ended up here in this situation, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit out of this right here, so that we're just kind of in a we have a blank slate for us to start work with. So I've already opened up, I've already created a new part, and so the first thing that I want to do is create a new part and decide what part it is that I even want to create, right? So the simplest and the most probably complete thing I can do is the rectangular prism that you saw in the last video. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, hey, I want to sketch on the top plane here. And as I do this, I want to point out that this isn't really meant to teach you how to use the 3D modeling of SolidWorks. It's more just kind of, you maybe already know how to use SolidWorks and you're interested in trying to maybe do something a little extra with your knowledge of SolidWorks. Or maybe you know some Python and you want to use that knowledge and get into 3D modeling. I don't know. Well, it's either or, either way, you're interested in SolidWorks and you're interested in Python, and here we are. So here I've made a little bit of you could call it a rectangular prism. I would call this just a flat piece of something. It doesn't particularly matter at the moment, but we have our model and we have the basis to define the dimensions of our model, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up Jupyter Notebook. So in our last video, I showed you this fun stuff here, right? In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to go back over here and we're going to click into here. So we've got our SolidWorks part there. I have that there, and here's our brand new Jupyter Notebook. So we're basically just going to copy what we've done in here, right? So we've got a rectangular prism, and we know that we need prism length, width, and height right here. Okay? I'm just gonna Control C, Control V, copy paste. That's all I'm gonna do right here. So now that I have that, I'm gonna Shift Enter here. And also, by the way, if you don't know how to use Jupyter Notebook, there are plenty of resources on the internet on how to get to this point, how to install Python. I want to let you know that I personally like using the Anaconda distribution of Python. If you Google Anaconda Python Jupyter Notebook, then that will give you a ton of resources on how to get to this here, this screen here, and where all the different steps on how to do that. So that was an aside. Let's continue on here. So we've gotten our rectangular prism here. This is a little bit of what we're doing. I copied this cell and pasted it into my new Jupyter Notebook, but the next thing we need is we need to be able to write this to a text file, right? So I've already done this work. We've already been there, done that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna grab all that, Control A, and then I'm gonna Control C, copy. I'm gonna drop that right into here, Control V. And since we're not doing a sphere, I'm just gonna grab all that, delete, and we're not doing a pyramid, so I'm gonna grab all that and delete. So this looks real good. One thing I want to point out, whenever I run this command right here, this is a default Python thing, I'll say. With open, and we have in quotation marks, pipeline.txt, comma, this W as file here. So what this does is this opens a brand new text file if it's not created, and writes. This W is for the word write, W-R-I-T-E, as file. So if a pipeline.txt file is not created, it will create a pipeline.txt file and write to that file. So this is opening the python.txt file and writing to that file. And so in this loop, this is a with loop, it's opening it in this loop as file. And so what we can do on this file right here is we can do file.write prism length, prism width, and prism height. So we're grabbing prism length, width, and height and writing to this text file. So I'm going to do a cell run all. So 2, 3, boom. Now if I go back over to my folder, I should have a new pipeline.txt file. And we certainly do. We have 7, 2, and 3 right there, and now we have 7, 2, and 3. So this is great. It's working. Awesome. Let's continue on here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open up Solidworks. So we have all of the Python that we need done, and we have the pipeline established. We have our .text file established. And what we're going to do with that text file, so we're going to do something really cool that SolidWorks allows us to do. In the Tools tab up here, we're going to go down and click Equations right there. In this Equations dialog box, this window here, I can go down here and say link to external file. So it's not checked right now, but if I check it, it gives me the option to link to an existing file or create a new file. So I already have the file. So all I'm going to do is click that right there, and it's trying to get me to take me to the old file that I had. But I know where my new pipeline.txt file is, and it's right here in this folder. I'm going to grab that right there and open. And whenever I open that right here, you're going to see something interesting. It can already tell. It says, oh, I've got prism length, prism width, prism height, and it's all equal to these different variables here. So SolidWorks already knows what's going on. They know what the deal is. So I'm going to say link right there, and boom, you saw it go. Fill these global variables out, prism length, width, and height right here, and it's given the values that I defined in my text file. So now that we have these global variables, okay, cool. They don't just automatically go into my model here. So I'm just going to click OK. We have these variables here. Our next step is to grab those variables and place them in our model here. Okay, so let's start with the sketch. That's where I started here on creating this. So I opened this feature, went into my sketch. I'm gonna edit my sketch. And so one thing that we can do is we'll dimension this right here. So I grabbed this line of this rectangle sketch and dimensioned it. So I have to double click on this sucker right here, and what I'm gonna do, if I remember correctly, all I gotta do is put an equals sign. So I just clicked equals, and I have global variables to choose from. Now does that, if that doesn't sound familiar, I hope that it does, and I'm gonna reiterate this point here. So I'm gonna exit out of here, and we're gonna do something here. We're gonna go back to our equations, tools, equations, global variables. Right? Global variables are exactly what we pulled in from our text file. So we have all these global variables, and they're sitting right here for us to use. They're just waiting. They're eager to be used in our geometry. Right? So let's go back to our sketch, and I'm going to go ahead and double click my dimension here, and this is already highlighted. Right? So I need to have this all highlighted and replace it with an equal sign, right? And then this drop down comes. So I have the global variables to use, eager to be used, right? Prism length, I'm going to assign this to the prism length right here. And then click this green check mark, and boom. Look at that. It's got the global variable and it's assigned to our value of 7. If you remember correctly, this is the prism length. If we go into our text file, looky there, prism length 7. Awesome. So I'm going to click green check mark again, and then it's hard to see, but there is a kind of a sigma right there. That means that it has an equation driving that dimension. All right. So what we're going to do the same thing again right here. I'm going to double click, click equals global variable prism width. Green check mark, boom, green check mark, boom. Awesome. So we've got length and width defined. And for a prism, what do we need to define for a prism? We need length, we need width, and we need height. And we have all three of those things. So now, where is our height? How do we define our height? And it's in this extrude right here. So I'm going to edit this extrude. And so right now it's set at 0.1 inches. So I'm going to do the exact same things. Equals global variables prism height. Click on that. Green check mark. Boom. Green check mark. Boom. Looky there. We've got the dimensions that drive every part, every aspect of this geometry here in our Solidworks can be defined in our Jupyter Notebook. And so that's exactly what we're going to do right now. So we're going to test this out, make sure everything works. This was 7. Let's make it 1. Let's do 2 to 8 and 3 to 5. Right? So now we should see a nice drastic change. I'm going to click Cell, Run All. All right. It ran right there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to SolidWorks. And what we got to do is we just click Rebuild. I'm going to click it. Boom. Looky there. So that is exactly how you can use Python to define the geometry in your SolidWorks application. If there's something that wasn't clear, hopefully you can rewind back into the video and see exactly maybe where something wasn't very clear. And if you have any questions, please put a comment. I'm going to do my best to be active and follow up with the comments, and if I need to make a follow-up video, I certainly will. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.